African, Nigerian, Yoruba accent. Imagine a woman standing at the edge of a bridge, ready to jump into a forest that can swallow your mind forever. This weekend, Olori Shadow did the unthinkable. Despite the cries of her loyal followers and the begging of her own enemies, she decided to walk into the forest of truth. They warned her that she might come out insane. They warned her she might never recognize her own children again. But she said, if I don't go, the lie will live forever. The shout that went up in the palace when she made her choice, my people, it was like a funeral for the living. A short prayer for you. May you never find yourself in a position where you have to walk through fire just to prove your innocence. And may every spiritual cloud over your life be cleared by the light of truth. Amen. A note on our tradition. Out of our deep respect for the culture of the land, we use fictional names for certain sacred rituals and locations. But as the story unfolds, your heart will understand exactly what is happening. The land of the Golden Crown was soaked in tears this weekend, and I'm not even joking. My Crown Gist friends and families, the information I have is so raw, it feels like a wound. You see, when the Golden Crown elders and the Council of the Land of the Golden Crown finally met, they reached a resolution that shook everyone. They told Olori Shadow that they were not forcing her, but for the sake of history, for the sake of her children, and for the sake of her own soul, she had to decide. If she was 100% sure that she never intended to hurt the Golden King, she should go to the Forest of Truth. When this news hit the palace quarters, everywhere erupted in panic. People were crying. No matter how much wahala a person causes, there will always be those who are loyal to them. Olori Shadow has people who love her, people she has been good to in the past. These women, her loyalists, were terrified. Even Queen Naomi herself, the one we call the Pillar of Peace, spoke up. Queen Naomi told them that Olori Shadow should not go. Why? Because everyone was sure that something terrible would happen to her in that forest. The Forest of Truth is not a place for stories. It is not a place you go for entertainment. It is a place where if your heart is not clean, you come back insane. People have entered that forest laughing and come out unable to recognize their own mothers. Some never come back at all. They become silent for the rest of their lives, their minds swallowed by their ancestors. That morning, Olori Shadow didn't wake up feeling like a hero. She woke up exhausted. Her eyes were swollen from nights without sleep. Her body felt like it was made of lead. Everywhere she turned, people were begging her, Shadow, please, just accept the charges. Just say you did it and leave the palace alive. There is no shame in staying sane. The palace women rushed into her quarters without even being invited. They were shaking. These were the women who had cooked with her, cried with her, and defended her when things were tough. One woman grabbed Olori Shadow's hand so tight as if she could pull her back from the edge of a cliff. She screamed, "Don't do this. Accept this shame. Just stay alive. Who will care for your children if you lose your mind?" Another woman dropped to the floor, her voice cracking as she begged. They reminded her of the disgrace she had already faced the night she sat alone as a pawn in a game she didn't understand. They told her that pride is not worth your sanity. But Olori Shadow just sat there. She was staring at nothing. Inside her, something darker was happening. She wasn't fighting for pride, she was fighting for the truth, because she was finally realizing how big of a game they had played with her life. She was upset, massively upset that she had been used. She knew that if she accepted the guilt just to stay safe, the story would be closed forever. Nobody would ever investigate Yamodi. Nobody would ever look for the people who cast the spell. She would be marked as a traitor for the rest of history, and the lie would be buried alive with her. When she finally spoke, her voice was low and tired. She said, "If I accept what I did not cause, I will live, yes, but I will live inside a prison of regret for the rest of my life. I know myself better than anybody, and the me that I know is not capable of doing these things to the Golden King." One of her followers stepped forward, desperate. She said, "Shadow, madness is not a poem. It is real. It is waking up and not knowing who you are. The forest does not forgive." Olori Shadow just nodded slowly. She was afraid. Her hands were shaking. This wasn't a movie. It was a woman standing at the edge of psychological collapse. But she refused to back down. Uncle Aforaba, who had been her silent protector, stood by her side. He didn't stop her. He knew that for Olori Shadow to truly be free, she had to face the fire. The begging intensified. Women were clutching her clothes, kneeling on their knees, crying so hard they had to be carried. They begged her like she was about to jump off a bridge. But she stood up, wiped her eyes, and walked toward the forest.
As they walked deeper into the forest, the sunlight started to disappear. It wasn't just the trees blocking the sun. It was like the forest was swallowing the day. Olori Shadow was walking in the middle, her footsteps heavy on the dry leaves. Uncle Abofa was right behind her, his lips moving in silent prayer, his eyes fixed on her every move. He knew that in this place, if the Ibile was not real, if she had done those things out of a wicked heart, the trees would not just watch, they would react. They reached the spot where the ground is never dry, the place where the ancestors pull the truth out of a person like a tooth. The lead elder stopped and looked at Olori Shadow. He asked her one last time, "Are you sure? Because once we start the right, there is no turning back." Olori Shadow didn't even look up. She just whispered, "Proceed." The elders began the secret alignment, using the ancient elements we respect too much to name. As they called upon the spirit of the land, a strange wind started to blow. It wasn't a normal breeze. It was a wind that felt like it was searching through your pockets and your mind. Olori Shadow's body started to shake, but not from here. It was like something inside her was trying to fight the forest. The elders saw it. They saw the struggle. They saw that there was a command inside her that was trying to keep her mouth shut. This was the Ibile in its rawest form. It was a spiritual padlock. The forest began to respond. The leaves started to rustle with a sound like 1,000 people whispering at once. The elders noticed that the forest was not attacking Olori Shadow. It was attacking the thing inside her. Uncle Albotho fell to his knees as the atmosphere became too heavy to stand. He saw his niece's face changing, her expression shifting between pain and a strange kind of peace. The forest was stripping away the layers of the spell. Every insult she ever gave the Golden King, every secret clan she was forced to participate in, the forest was pulling it all out. Suddenly, Olori Shadow let out a scream that didn't even sound like her voice. It was a high, piercing sound that made the birds fly out of the trees in a panic. And then, as quickly as it started, the wind stopped. The forest went dead silent. Olori Shadow fell forward, her face hitting the damp earth. The elders rushed forward, but they didn't see a wicked woman. They saw a woman whose spiritual chains had just been snapped by the power of the land.
When the elders finally raised Olori Shadow up, her eyes were different. The cloud that had been there for months was gone. She looked at Uncle Afon, and for the first time in a year, she actually saw him. She didn't see an enemy, she saw her blood. She grabbed his hand and started to apologize, but she was so weak she couldn't even finish a sentence. The elders performed the final check. They looked for the mark of the secret oath, and there it was. The spiritual evidence that she had been trapped since the very day Queen Naomi left the palace. It turned out that the enemies had been waiting for that exact moment of transition to strike. They used Olori Shadow's presence in the palace as a door, and they locked that door with an ID that no human could break on their own. They realized that Olori Shadow had been a prisoner even while she was wearing expensive lace and jewelry. She was a weapon pointed at the Golden King's hat, but the person holding the trigger was hiding in the shadows of the land of the Golden Crown. The elders felt a heavy wave of relief but also a deep shame. How did they let this happen? How did the protection of the palace fail so badly? Uncle Afon was weeping again, but this time, he was wiping Olorishado's face with his cloth. He kept saying, "My daughter is back, my daughter is back." The elders knew they had to get her back to the palace immediately. The verdict was final. The forest had confirmed that she was under a very serious affliction, a charm so powerful that it had overridden her entire personality. As they emerged from the trees, the women who had been waiting and praying let out a shout that reached the palace gates. They saw Olorishado being carried, and they knew. They knew the forest had not swallowed her mind. They knew the truth had set her free. But while there was joy among her loyalists, a new fear was growing. If Olorishado was just a puppet, who was the puppeteer?
My crown gist friends and families, as we speak, the land of the Golden Crown is in a state of high alert. The news that Olorishado was truly under a spiritual hijack has sent shockwaves through the community. People are now looking at their neighbors with suspicion, wondering who among them is carrying the cup of that dark oath. The latest report from the palace corridors suggests that the Golden King has ordered a complete spiritual cleansing of the entire royal household. They say he is not taking any chances. Queen Naomi is reportedly helping to coordinate the care for Olorishado, proving once again why she is the jewel of the palace. But don't think everything is back to normal. The damage to the Golden King's reputation and the pain in his heart are still very real. There is a funny but serious rumor going around that some people who were the loudest in condemning Olorishado are now the ones running away from the palace. It's like they are afraid his forest will point its finger at them next. Uncle Afo is said to be staying right by Olorishado's side, making sure no strangers come near her while she is recovering from the shock of the forest. But before I let you go, my Crown G's friends and families, I have to remind you of something very important. Everything I have told you in this final part, the secret orders of the Golden King, the movement of Queen Naomi, and the people running away are rumors and alleged information. These are social media rumors that are flying around the land of the Golden Crown. While the story of the forest is being talked about everywhere, these specific private details have not been officially confirmed by the palace office. You must take them as gist for now, or till the final word comes from the throne itself. We are just keeping you in the loop of what the streets are saying. The battle for the soul of the palace is not over. The forest has spoken, but the people behind the body are still out there. What do you think the Golden King should do to find the real villains?